Recording in progress.
So today, I don't even know. I just woke up this morning and this idea popped into my head. I was like, I think I've ever done a sit and be fit class with you guys. And if your first thought was, "Ooh, you haven't known me for very long." If your first thought was, "Uh-oh," there we go. That's far more appropriate. I've never done a sit and be fit class, so I'm just gonna make up my own sit and be fit class, and I have many ideas. It's gonna be interesting. So you'll need a chair, obviously, and you'll need your weights and your water. If you have back issues like lower back pain, I would suggest you have another chair or bench beside you, so you can just put your weights beside you instead of repetitively bending over. But yeah, I mean, all the ideas that popped in my head, they weren't easy. So if you're, so don't worry about that. But of course, I will modify all things as I always do. So yeah, let's sit in our chair and we'll get started. The nice thing about a Sin Befit class is I think the thought process was I'm a little like my vertigo's not too happy with me today because of being outside for all weekend in the smoke. So I was like, oh, if you're unstable, whatever. But yeah, that doesn't change the fact that I'm going to make you guys do a really nice workout today with doing this. So like with neutral position when we're standing, I want you to do seated position with your feet hips distance apart, facing straight ahead. Mainly, it's that rib cage. So I want you to lift that rib cage off of the hips and sit up nice and tall and roll your shoulders back. So immediately your abdominals have to start to function here. And when you pull your shoulders down and away from the ears, you should feel that stretch in the shoulders. And then take a nice deep inhale through the belly and exhale. We're going to get our arms into it. So just make sure you have space on your right. On your inhale, open. Exhale, close. Close will be easy. When you inhale, I want you to really, really pull back so that you actually feel that stretch in the chest. Deep inhale. Exhale. Now, how are your shoulders feeling? Because all overhead exercises with weights are harder when you're seated than when you're standing. So if you're already having a shoulder issue right now, pay attention to that because you will probably have to modify with some of the overhead exercises. One last time, big inhale, trying to get those arms way, way, way back. Exhale, bring them in front and just kind of shake out those arms. We're gonna start from our feet and then work our way back up to the head. So I'm gonna get you guys to do seated toe taps. You're gonna try and lift those toes as high as possible. It's not so much about the toes, all right? It's about your height. You wanna lift as high as you can and activate your core. So we're doing neutral position, breathing with neutral position, while you're going to start to feel that burn in the shins. Now we're not even halfway through yet. So just really start to pick up the speed, pick up the height. Your speed will likely go down because now we're halfway. So you still got a long way to go. So when they start to slow down, that's fine. Just work on really, really, really lifting as high as you possibly can. Okay, don't hunch forward. Sit up tall, breathe, roll your shoulders back. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now, if you can, you're going to tuck one toe underneath the chair and push down through that ankle, the top of the ankle, and then switch to the other side. If your shoes are very, very hard and they will not allow this, because you might actually get a Charlie horse in your foot, then just kind of shake out one foot and then shake out the other. Okay? Just do that a few times. We want to loosen up that shin. Now this one, I do not mind if you lean back just a little bit, okay? But I don't want you to arch back like this. We want to activate the core, sit up nice and tall. You might need a little bit of space behind you. And we're going to do seated front kicks. So we're just going to warm up those hamstrings a little bit and the knees. Now the biggest thing with Sit and Be Fit class, obviously it's wonderful for stability. But in the seated position, it's really hard to work the glutes, and it's really hard to work that hamstring muscle, which is usually our weakest point, right? We're usually very, very tight in the hips and very, very tight because we sit a lot. So the trickiest thing to come up with while we're doing the Sit and Be Fit class is I want you to try and squeeze your glutes Okay, which I know you're like, no, Tanya, come on, you ask too much too early, but I want you to keep that in the back of your mind that you want to try and squeeze your glutes. It will not be a very big contraction, but you should be able to get a little bit of activation of the glute max because it still can do that for you in this seated position. We got 5 seconds left. 4, 3, 2, and perfect. You're gonna straighten both legs, don't fall off your chair, and just rock the feet side to side. And that's gonna help just wiggle out some of that lactic acid we built up in the quads and in the knees. Inhale and exhale. And then come back to that neutral position. Feet are hips distance apart, sitting up nice and tall. Now this one, I won't physically see. I'm gonna entrust that you're gonna try this. I don't want you to move at all. What I want you to do, sitting up nice and tall, I want you to squeeze your glutes as hard as you can, activate your core, and relax. Squeeze your glutes as hard as you can, and relax. So you know, you'll see immediately, you're like, is anything? And relax. You can even use your hands. The brain sometimes helps with that proprioception, just like this. I want you to contract and relax. 2 more times. Try to keep your shoulders out of it because you'll start to be like, am I contracting something? Relax. Let's try one more time. Shoulders down. Squeeze your glutes. Breathe. Don't forget to breathe. And relax. Just kick out those legs a few times. And now we need a little bit of space. I'm just going to turn my chair. Need a little bit of space behind you. We're going to do gentle cat-cow. Okay, so we're not super warmed up yet. We're just trying to warm up. So when you inhale and arch forward, don't go super far. And when you exhale especially, don't curl a lot. All right, so this will be at your own pace. When you inhale, arch. Exhale, curve. Inhale, arch. Exhale, curve. So do try to breathe deep, and everyone will be at their own pace here. But I don't want you to work so much on like that chin tuck and the squeezing the glutes and all that kind of stuff. I just want you to see what's going on in the spine itself. Do you have like a sharp pain going on somewhere in the spine? Do you feel just really tight in the hips? You know, how are those shoulders? Okay, so in this warm up, it's not about that super flexion extension. It's just about waking up those muscles. Now we're going to do decently faster core twist than we normally do. So I want you to stay up nice and tall. If you do have a herniated or bulging disc, when you go to turn, you will pretty much just turn that torso and that is it. If your back is fine, again, not full range of motion. We're going to twist to look to our right, slowly come back to center, and twist to look to our left. So I'd say it takes like, a couple seconds of that turning to the right, and then slowly making our way back to center, and a couple seconds turning to the left. It's slow enough that we're really waiting for the core to help us, and it's not deep enough that we feel a really crazy stretch. We're just trying to see what's going on in those rotating muscles of the torso, and that's about it. When you come back to center, elbows on the knees, and just kind of relax forward. How does that feel? Maybe it's nothing. Maybe you do feel a little bit of a stretch. And then I'm going to get you to sit up nice and tall again with the shoulders. So same thing, don't fall off your chair, and don't go full depth here. I want you to start to activate your core. So here's the trickiest part. It's not about the side tilts, okay? First and foremost, try and squeeze your glutes. And when you squeeze your glutes, you should visualize like your sit bones sort of lift, like you'll gain 1/4 of an inch this way, because those muscles go whoop underneath you, squeezing those glutes, activating the core, and then try and tilt to the side here, and then tilt to the side here. Now, if you are really trying to squeeze as hard as you can in the glutes and in the core, this movement comes from the rib cage up, really, because everything else is contracted. So you should feel like you're sort of lifted in those sit bones as you tilt side to side. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Keep those shoulders relaxed. And if you've lost your glutes, you're like, Tanya, I never had them. But if you've lost it, try and squeeze one more time to the right, one more time to the left. And then again, when you come back to center, elbows on the knees and just try and relax. Okay, so again, you might feel a little bit of a pull there, maybe not. Coming back to center, just shaking out those limbs a little bit. Now we're gonna work our shoulders. So when you're sitting up nice and tall, first, we're just gonna do normal shoulder circles where you lift as high as you can and then pull down as far as you can. With these guys, big shoulder circles, as big as you can, is great because the shoulder can't go very far anyways, and it's in a very, very neutral position. So we do want to lift, but then very much so, we want to pull down, 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 okay? So that we get those muscles to contract, but then we get them to relax. Don't forget about your breath. Deep inhale, deep exhale. And now we're going to change that up just a little bit. We're going to end with our shoulders rolled back and down. And now instead of doing circles, we're going to lift and hold and contract as much as we can. And then we're going to relax our shoulders. Okay, so our arms are going to be down here. Sit up nice and tall. Super, super over-exaggerated shrug. So as high as they'll go, squeeze, 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 squeeze. And then I want you to drop. Like they're dead weight beside you, okay? So that's important. It has to be dead weight. Lift as high as you can, squeeze, 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 squeeze. Don't forget to breathe and drop those arms. We got one more time. We got to get those traps really, 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 really contracted and then drop. And then I want you to just kind of shake out those arms like limp spaghetti noodles that we do when we're standing. Don't forget that inhale and exhale. Good. Now, last but not least, we actually are going to spend a decent amount of time on the neck because, as I've mentioned, in the seated position, it's actually harder to do bicep curls and shoulder press and lat raises because we don't have the assistance of the legs. So with your shoulders rolled back and down, don't worry about range of motion. I want you to activate that core and just tilt the head slightly to the side. Feel a gentle stretch, nothing crazy. And then slowly, slowly lift that head and tilt to the other side. We can't go too fast. You don't want to be too slow. You want to just have this nice gentle movement where it's like a slight pause, but then we're already back to center, tilting the other way. Now what this is going to do is relax those trap muscles, these ones that just did all those shrugs, but also wake up the scalene muscles, those muscles in the neck that usually just shut off. They're the ones that are supposed to hold our head on our body, but the traps normally take over and then they just go, you do it, that's fine. And that's why we have all this tension in our neck and these headaches and stuff. So just try to wake them up, these neck muscles here. And then we are going to go a little bit slower for the other one. So staying up nice and tall with the chin, you're going to look up towards the ceiling. Lead with your chin. You should feel that in the front of your throat. And then slowly, slowly look down. Now, when you look down, try not to collapse the spine. It's just the chin tucking in towards the chest. And if you feel like, yeah, it's just kind of tight there, you breathe into that. And then slowly look back up, lead with the chin. And then slowly looking down, feel free to pause into this position to tuck that chin in towards the chest. We have one more time, lifting the head up. And then looking down, tucking that chin in towards the chest. Coming back to center, do a couple shoulder circles. And this is the one that we do pause. So you're looking for 3 inhale and exhales, just with the shoulder check on one side, and then we're going to switch to the other side. So we're definitely going to be there for a while. We start with our shoulders back and down. Try just the head is going to look over your right shoulder. We stay there. Inhale. Exhale, try and turn the head a little bit more. Stay there. Inhale. Exhale, try and turn a little bit more. So you're relaxing and turning at the same time. So the shoulders come out and the neck is the one that's doing most of that movement. Then we're going to come back to center. The head is going to look over to your left. Doesn't matter where you start, because on your exhale, I want you to turn just a little bit more. Try and relax your traps. Turn the head a little bit more. Relax your traps. Turn a little bit more. And then very, very, very gently come back to center, some shoulder circles. Okay, feel free to have a little bit of water if you'd like. And like I said, your weights, they can be on the floor. If you don't have something, then put them beside. But real quick here, I just wanted to like show you the difference. So if you have a herniated or bulging disc, doing this, right, it like a tying your shoelace, but picking up your weights, right, so that we can use them and then putting them back down, it's a lot of that flexion. You just can't avoid it. Excuse me, you can't avoid it because it's like on the floor. It's fine if your back is fine because we're going to contract our core and the back can do it. But if you already have a herniated bulging disc or if you're injured in the lower back, having it like this, right, you don't bend your back. Okay, so like if you have to move the chair over to do that, that's perfectly fine. If you're like, nah, I don't have anything, I'm just going to be out in the open like I am, that's also fine. Just keep that in mind. First and foremost, today is going to be about the fact that we're squeezing our glutes in seated position. So that's going to be so tricky here. Do not hold your breath. The moment you try to squeeze your glutes, right? We have that stiffening of the abdominals. So I want you to breathe, squeeze your glutes, and do bicep curls. I already know I'm asking lots for a Monday morning, all right? Now try not to clip your fingers on the chair when it comes beside you. Sit up nice and tall. Lift that rib cage off of your hips. Squeeze your glutes and bicep curl up. Up and down. So you can squeeze your shoulder blades together like we always do, okay? But as I've always said, it's never about the bicep curl, it's about the glutes. And when you're in the seated position, when you try and squeeze the glutes, I'm sure you've noticed other things contract as well. You'll feel your quads, a little bit of the hamstrings. Like I said, the stiffening up the abdominals, because we're talking about inner core muscles, real deep in the pelvis, are the ones that are contracting in the seated position. Now try for these last 4, squeeze those glutes. 3, 2, and 1. We can bring those weights down. Shoulders are back. You can lean back if you need to just a little bit, but try to keep your spine nice and straight. We're going to do seated front kicks again. Go ahead. One and then the other. So with this one's, it's a little bit of a core exercise because of that slight lean back. Now you don't have to. It's actually harder if you want that challenge to sit up tall because we have that restriction of the hip flexor. When you ease back a little bit, take some tension off the hip flexor, works our abdominals more. So you choose, or maybe your body will choose what it is capable of doing here. But the goal is to try and kick as high as you possibly can with that foot. So you're aiming for straight knee. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. Depends on how tight your hamstrings are. You should start feeling tired. Don't forget to breathe. 5, 4, 3, 2, and perfect. We're going to lean forward just to release that back a little bit. And I'm going to move my chair so you guys can see this angle. We're going to start nice and easy with just sit backs. So no weights or anything like that. This is going to start working the abdominal muscles. You'll probably have to step away with your feet just a little bit so they don't lift off the ground. Definitely need space behind you. Shoulders are back and down. You can have the arms like this or arms like this. And you're going to lean back and then sit forward. Now, if you want that little bit more of a challenge, you can turn the chair so you don't have the restriction of the back of the chair. That requires lots of strength in the abdominals and the back because it's just that extra couple inches. You don't want the lower back to curve like this, ever, ever. We got about 10 more seconds. 9, 8, nice and slow with these ones. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Grabbing your weights. Shoulders are back. Lift the rib cage off of your belly. Squeeze your glutes, then bicep curls. Nice and tall in that spine. Shoulders not only pulled away from your ears, but also try to pull your shoulder blades together. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. So for these last 5 or so. You don't have to keep up pace with me. Just really try to isolate those glutes. Do not hold your breath. Couple more times. And then careful with your back. Maybe just set them at a decent height or down below, whatever works best for you, on the ground. We're going to go back to those seated front kicks. Maybe you're just up and tall like this or leaning back slightly, but don't curve the back. Core and glutes, shoulders relaxed. Then front kicks. So with those front kicks, the goal here, I mean, these are always lovely if you have arthritis in the knees, if you have knee replacement surgery, you know, you tore your MCL, something like that. We're not weight bearing, but we're flexing, extending that joint. So it likes it. You can strengthen all those muscles around quite a bit. But as with all things, especially the knees, if it's not happy with that, slow it down. Okay, if it's obviously just one knee, do more front kicks on the good side. Throw in a couple on the bad, and just baby step into that. 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Elbows go on the knees and relax, relax, relax. Inhale and exhale. It's important because when we sit up, we want to have reset for these sit backs. You might have to step out with the feet just a little bit, sitting up nice and tall, arms on the shoulders, or this is a little bit easier if you need that. You're going to lean back and then come forward. Now this one again, when you try to squeeze your glutes, you will feel just that little contraction in that glute max that will help support that lower back. And that is by far the weakest point when you're doing these sit backs, is the lower back has to hold you so that the abdominals can lift you up. So just keep that in mind. Keep breathing. Keep your shoulders out of it. Try to activate those glutes. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and perfect. You can have a little bit of water if you'd like. We're going to do a seated cross angle stretch. Just to loosen up the hips. Sit up nice and tall. Exhale, leaning forward, careful with that knee, and always flex your ankle. Flexing the ankle contracts the quad, and it helps support that knee joint while you're putting it into flexion and leaning forward. So this for sure, always have that ankle flexed. This knee, you know, it'll let you know how far it wants to go with that, but try to exhale and lean forward, forward, forward into that. The trickiest thing with sit and fit class, for sure, I'm going to put you guys through what I could figure would stretch out your quads the most. You're going to lean back and switch. But truly, especially with the older population, we do sit quite a bit, and we'll have like the most amazing things like lazy boy couches, right? That lean back, and some of them like lift us out of the couch. They're great. but that means that the quads get very, very tight, like the thigh muscles, right? Because we're in the seated position all the time. So it's hard. Like we can strengthen it by doing front kicks, but how do you stretch the quad in the seated position? So I will give you guys a couple different variations of that one as the class goes on, but just kind of keep that in mind that if you have knee pain or hip pain, you must do the quad stretch, the standing one, all the different variations that I have given you guys. It's just your biggest bang for your buck. It'll really help quite a bit. Okay, so now what we're going to do is essentially like speed walk or jog in the seated position. So the trickiest part with this one, yes, I want you to squeeze your glutes. Do I have high hopes for this? Absolutely not. Mainly, it comes from the core. Core is going to be a lot easier. You want your shoulders to be back and down and your abdominals contracted, all right? Don't worry about it. It'll come naturally. Don't think about it too much. I want you to march on the spot. When you're marching on the spot in seated position, I want you to start activating your arms. So they are definitely moving when you're doing this position. And you're trying to lift just a little bit higher. So it's not so much the limbs moving, which is great. It'll get our heart rate up. It's, can you squeeze your shoulders back and down? Can you stiffen up your abdominals while you're breathing? Can you try and squeeze your glutes? Which it won't be your glutes at all in this position. It'll be those little pelvic floor muscles, deep, deep, deep in the inside of our core that has to work for us. Inhale and exhale. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and perfect. 1 or 2 weights, you know by now, shoulder press. How's that feel, right? So if you're like, that might not be so good, 1 weight is fine. You'll hold it sideways like this as we do shoulder press. If you have the strength, 2 weights, palms facing forward, right? Core, glutes, shoulder press up, come back down. Shoulder press up, come back down. Concentrate on that weight. If your dumbbells are right in line with your ears, that's great. If your shoulders start to give out any sharp pain of like even a minuscule sharp pain in that shoulder, you drop it down to 1, or you just pretend that you have weight. Okay, it's good to do that range of motion, and no weight at all is also a good alternative. 3, 2, and perfect. Bring those weights down. Now the trickiest one with this one is we're sort of halfway. So if you have your chair like this, we will be leaning back but not touching the back of the chair. So the back of the chair is there in case we need it. But with this one, the goal, our hands are going to be in this position. We're going to lean back, activate your glutes, and then I want you to twist right to left. Think right elbow to right rib, left elbow to left rib. So we're not twisting very much, but we are leaning back so that we feel this. And this is extremely subtle. You lean forward just an inch, you'll take a lot of pressure off the back. That's fine. You want more abdominals and back, you lean back while you're doing these core twists. Keep a nice straight spine. Core and glutes are trying to work for you here. You can lean forward anytime and break. Okay, these are sort of like planks. Come out of it whenever you need to. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lean forward, elbows on the knees. Breathe, breathe, breathe. All right, we're going to go back to that speed walk. So you might have to scooch back a little bit on your chair, sitting up nice and tall. Don't think about it too much of which limb comes up with which arm here, okay? It's just getting them nice and high. That's the goal. The higher you can get the knees, the more those hips have to work, the more the abdominal has to work, the more you can get those arms involved, kind of like punching up towards the ceiling with your fist, squeezing those shoulder blades back and down. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. If you can, we got 10 more seconds. Straighten up that spine. Breathe. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just briefly leaning forward to release. You might want to rock the knees side to side. That's always really nice to loosen up those hips. Just going to turn my chair. And we're going to grab 1 or 2 weights or no weights. Just doing this motion with no weight is still better than nothing at all. So you choose how much weight you want to use. Core first, glutes first, then shoulder press. Coming up and down. It's all about that range of motion. You're fighting to keep that mobility in your shoulders and the strength in your shoulders. You can come down anytime. You can drop down to 1 weight at any time, or put both weights on the ground. Okay, these are very, very, very personal. Core, core, core. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Careful with those weights, especially if you're going down on the ground like I am. You just have to be gentle so you don't throw your back out. I'm just going to turn around so you guys can see me. You might have to step your feet out a little bit. Arms are going to be on your shoulders. With this one, you modify by leaning back just a tiny little bit or a little bit more to make it harder. And then we're going to go side to side. Think right elbow to right rib, left elbow coming to left rib. The more control you have over your abdominal and glutes, the more you'll feel that kind of band wrap around that lower back. At any point, if that band is too loose and it's not working for you, you sit up just a little bit taller and you'll feel immediately that pressure comes off. Inhale, exhale. Lean forward anytime you'd like. We got 10 more seconds if you can though. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lean forward, elbows on your knees, and relax. Good. All right, feel free to have a little bit of water if you'd like. We're going to stretch out our quads. Now this one's tricky. We've done this not too much in the past. Essentially what we have to do is stretch out this muscle. This quad muscle is as short as it can possibly be. How do we stretch it? Well, straightening the hip or extension, which is why I'm always quads, right? Quad stretch. But if you're doing it in a seated position, don't fall off your chair, please, okay? You're gonna turn, let's turn to the right, all right? So when we turn to the right, the trickiest part with this one is we're actually kind of off of our chair a little bit. We wanna put our left foot behind us. So it looks like we're doing a lunge, okay? That's what it looks like. However, my right butt cheek is what I'm sitting on. My left leg, not so much. So this is what I mean. Hold on to your chair and do not fall off your chair because my left leg is not on the chair at all. And the goal here is to sit up tall with the torso. My heel, my left heel, kind of walks back or pushes back. And this is like the quad stretch. It's nice and tall, breathing. That hip pushes forward, that heel pushes back. And what I'm getting is extension in that hip. So you can sort of a little bit wiggle left to right, but like I said, don't fall off your chair. The goal is this position. So this is how you know. If you're in this position, you're like, me, doesn't feel bad. That is good flexibility in a quad. If you're like, ooh, it's kind of tight right here, this is just standing straight. So it is tight, that quad. Now again, careful. You might want to lean towards the back of your chair, then switch to the other side. You might want to get this right leg behind you a little bit and then rotate to our left. So essentially in this position, my whole left leg, my butt cheek and my thigh are on the chair, but my right leg is off. And I might have to wiggle this foot back a little bit. That's fine. Push that hip forward and then push that heel back. So it's that difference between this is nothing really, that heel, and then when you push that heel back, that's where you're going to get extension in that quad. Hold on to the chair. Lean back with that torso a little bit if you need to. Breathe. And then lean forward a little bit, even lean towards the back of the chair a little bit to come back to center. Just kind of shake out those legs a little bit. Perfect. All right, so we're gonna do a couple different things with the hamstrings. Hamstrings are also kind of tough because we get those with squats, right? So if you're not doing sit down squats in a sit and be fit class, then how do we get the hamstring? Well, its job is actually flexion of the knee. So with this one, if you have carpeted area, great. If you have hardwood, you'll feel like it's going to be very sticky on your shoe. It's not bad, just expect it to kind of get stuck and you have to work a little bit harder for that hamstring. The right foot is going to extend forward, but the whole bottom of the foot is still on the ground. Sit up nice and tall, maybe even lean back a little bit. Everything is nice and solid in the glutes. I want you to push down into that right leg and pull that leg towards you as you're pushing down. Lift the whole leg, put it down. Push that foot into the ground as you pull, and then lift. So the goal here is to get this muscle to contract because we're pushing down, we're adding pressure to that carpet as we're pulling back. So you might bounce a little bit or get stuck a little bit, depending on what surface you're dragging that foot on. But the more pressure you can put down, the harder it's going to be on that hamstring and on that knee. Keep those shoulders out of it. Stay up nice and tall. One more time on this side. Push, push, push down and slide. That leg, straighten it out and rock it side to side. It should feel tired. That's how you know that hamstring has been working. We're going to do 8 on the other side. So sitting up nice and tall, right leg stays bent, left foot extends forward, push down into the bottom of that foot and pull. 1, lift that whole foot, push it back down, slide. 2, these aren't fast. It's more like physio. 3, 4, keep your shoulders out of it. 5, 6, 7, last time, and 8. That left leg, the heel, is on the ground, and you're going to rock that foot side to side, just to loosen it up. Now we're going to do chest, then back. We're going to double whammy the torso in these next ones. I'm just going to move my chair here. We're going to grab our weights. We're going to do chest press first. So when you're doing this movement, you're definitely on the edge of your chair, leaning back. So our shoulder blades are definitely on the chair, and that's where our core comes in, because if you don't use your core, they'll collapse like this. So I want you to stiffen up the abdominals. I want that spine to be straight. Glutes are squeezed. They should be a little bit easier because we're not fully stretching them or extending them. So we can really activate that. Palms face forward. You're going to push those weights up towards the ceiling and then bring those elbows down till the weights are kind of in front of your shoulders. Down and up. So as with all chest press exercises, seated or the lying down one that we do on the ground, you want to squeeze your glutes. Activate your glutes while you're doing the chest press. At any time, you can drop it down to one weight if you'd like, or you can just pause and break. You don't have to do all the chest press with me. That's up to your shoulders mostly. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Weights come onto your thighs. Once they're on your thighs, then lean forward. And we're pretty much there for seated rows. With seated rows, we don't do these very often. We're normally standing. So don't collapse your spine. That's too hard on your lower back. Think of it like the hamstring stretch that we do where our spine is a broomstick and it cannot bend. So we're hinging at the hip, but you won't be able to go down very low. It'll be about this height, not this way, okay? Weights will come right beside you. I want you to concentrate on this shoulder blade going down. So when you pull the shoulder blade back and down, my latissimus dorsi muscle right here, that's contracting. So I want you to feel that muscle contract, then lift those elbows up and come back down. So it's not so much about the row itself, which is decently easy in the sense that the elbows are just bending and straightening and you're squeezing your shoulder blades together when you lift those weights up. It's about everything else. You want to contract your abdominals. You want to try to squeeze your glutes. And you want to try and activate that latissimus dorsi. You want to always pretty much having the shoulders pull away from your ears. And that'll contract your lats, which will protect your lower back. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Sit back so your spine is in good positioning. Maybe put your weight beside you if you'd like, or carefully put it down on the ground. Whatever that back is telling you to do. Sitting up nice and tall, shoulders back, leaning back maybe just a tiny little bit. But really, it's that right foot that's in front. Push down, slide. Lift, push down, slide. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this is the last one, and 8. Now we want to straighten it first, rock it side to side, because it will Charlie horse in the hamstrings. The best thing that they're good at is Charlie horsing. So with that left foot, push the whole thing down, then pull towards you. 1, 2, 3, 4, pull your shoulders back and down. 5, 6, 7, and 8. Straightening that leg, relax it as it rocks side to side, and then grab your weights. So we got one more time with that chest press. If you felt anything in the shoulder at all, drop it down to 1 weight. If you're doing just 1 weight, you're holding the dumbbell sideways, it'll come right in front of your chest and then straight up in front like this. Okay, if you're using 2 weights though, you have a little bit more of a wider stance because the weights can come up towards the ceiling and then they can come wide at the chest. Don't forget about your glutes. Don't forget to breathe. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Put those weights on your thighs. Once they're resting on your thighs, then lean forward. Okay, it's just a little bit safer on your lower back. You will have to be on the edge of your chair, but not too much because I don't want you to fall off the chair. Roll your shoulders back, pull them down so you're activating your lats before we even begin, and then you lean forward just a tiny little bit. So the core is nice and stiff. Then those weights come down. We're gonna row up, squeeze, then come down. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze those shoulder blades, then come down. Don't be afraid to pause for about a second when you're lifting those elbows up, because those are the posture muscles. These are the guys that keep your shoulders in good position. They don't let you slouch, and they help prevent dowager hump. Or if you have dowager hump, it can get a little bit better with posture movements like this. So just really try to isolate that position. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Careful, careful here. Putting those weights down beside you if you need to. Rolling those shoulders a little bit. Elbows can go on the knees a little bit if you'd like. And then have a little bit of water. Got one more set of exercises. Just going to move my chair like this. So in this position, what we're trying to do, we're going to isolate the groin muscles a couple times in this one, but essentially it's that glute med, right? It's the glute med. That's the muscle right here that when we walk, pops out. And when it pops out there, we put all the tension on our knee and then we just blow at our knee and we blow at our hip too. So in a seated position, like normally we're doing side lunges or side kicks or clams, right? So in the seated position, it's closest to a clam is what we're doing. Your shoulders are back and down, your core is active. If you have to hold on to your legs or the chair, that's perfectly fine. But we're going to do just this right side. I'm gonna back up as much as I can here. You start pretty darn close with your feet in the center. Try not to move your torso. Step that right leg out as far as it'll go, and then come back. Out as far as it'll go, and then come back. The tricky part here is to not lift your leg too high. You don't want to lift the knee like this and then come down, because then you'll be like, oh, my hip. Okay, because it'll clunk, it'll roll in you. So what you're looking for is to just sort of hover off the ground about an inch so that that big hip bone doesn't roll in the hip at all. It's just going out to the side and back. Try to squeeze your glute. It may or may not pay attention to you, but core is active the whole time. 3, 2, and 1. Now this foot stays nice and close. You might have to readjust because we sort of shuffle a little bit. that left leg out and in. So how does that feel? I'd have to say it's not the most comfortable position on the planet, okay? Because there might be some snapping and clunking and crunching going on. There's no pain, that's pretty normal, okay? So they can be just loud and unhappy about it, but as long as there's no pain, it's fine. Are you getting the same range of motion as the other side? And does it feel like it's the same strength? Might be a little bit weaker than the other one. And yes, we are using our groin to come back in. We're using our glute med to go out. So this is what I mean. We're going to sort of double whammy this. Once you're done that last rep, I'm going to get you to stay in this position here where your feet are pretty darn close together. You're going to make a fist with your hand, and you're going to put that fist right in between your knees, which is why you have to be so close. So feel free to lean forward if you need to. Activate your core, pull your shoulders back. The goal here is not something that I will see. You're going to squeeze your knees together and then relax. So with that fist in between the knees, squeeze as hard as you can and then relax. And you'll know you're squeezing hard enough that when you relax, those knees will naturally want to fall apart, okay? Because you've been contracting so much that when you relax them, they just go, ugh, okay? And that's good. If you want a little bit more, if you're feeling that's just a little bit too close, you can make two fists side by side. You might have to adjust the feet a little bit and then squeeze. It's not the most comfortable for the hands, of course, okay? But it'll work in dire straits. Now, this is the thing with physio. What you put into it, you get out of. So you squeeze as hard as you possibly can, and you will really feel those groin muscles shake. These are the adductors, the groin muscles, should be unhappy with you. That's how hard you're squeezing those knees together. Last one. And relax. Now both legs, don't fall off your chair, are going to extend, and you're going to rock your feet side to side just to loosen them up a little bit. You can also shake out your hands because I know it's kind of hard on the fists themselves. Now we're going to do overhead tricep extension. In the seated position, it is harder than standing. So if that's what you normally do, it's definitely a harder version. And same thing with shoulder press. So maybe it's just one weight you're holding, or it's two weights that you hold like this. Just don't hit yourself in the head, all right? Now with overhead tricep, because we're in the most stretched out position, you just have to really pay attention to what your shoulders are saying. If they're complaining, great. If there's sharp pain, that's when you have to adjust. So one or two weights over the head, bend the elbow so the weight comes right behind your head, behind your neck, really, down and up. You can have those weights touch if you'd like, or you can have them apart, okay? You choose what works for you. The goal is to try to get those elbows, instead of them flaring out like this, right? You want them to come closer to the head. That's what you're fighting for. Breathe. At any time, bring those weights down in front and take a little bit of a breather. We have about 5 left. Squeeze your glutes. 4, 3, 2, and perfect. Bring those weights down. Careful with your back when you just kind of get them out of the way. Shoulders are back and down. If you want, if that hip was kind of grinding while you're doing this movement, keep it nice and slow. But to add a little bit of cardio, we can now do a little bit faster movement here. So you sit up nice and tall, core is active, try to squeeze that glute. You don't have to go this fast. You can slow it down, okay? But if you want that little bit extra cardio, you pick up that pace. You won't go out as far, totally fine. You will restrict your movement to add speed, okay? And you'll notice that hip flexor will be quite a bit tired quite a bit earlier than it was that first time around. Don't let that torso compensate. Don't collapse in on yourself. Stay up nice and tall. 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, and perfect. Straighten the leg. Rock it side to side just to loosen up that hip flexor. That foot is pretty darn close to center. Shoulders are back. Left leg now. Speed is up to you. Breathe while you do this. Core, core, core. So that's where it becomes very important. It's not always about crazy strength. It's about that mobility, which we normally get with stretching. in the other class and the movement that I'm having you guys do. But just certain things like this, that if you lose your range of motion doing this, you'll lose other things that you would do in life. This position is getting in and out of a car. You don't think about it too much, but if you've had a blown out hip, you know what I'm talking about. It's absolute hell to try to get out of a car if you don't have this movement. And you're good. We're going to straighten that leg, rock it side to side, just to loosen it up. Now, if you tried just one fist last time, you want to try 2 fists this time, that's fine. If you did try both, whatever one worked best for you, you're sitting up nice and tall, making those fists, roll the shoulders back, and then I want you to squeeze those knees. If the fists weren't there, they would be squeezing together, but instead we're giving a little bit added space here. Squeeze, 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 and relax. And it should be enough. You're squeezing as hard as you possibly can. They shake, all right? And then when you relax, they want to just fall outward. That is our normal stance. This is why we always have like duck feet, externally rotated feet, is because the glute med is weak. So as soon as those adductors give out, those glutes don't catch it. So we have problems in our movement mechanics that we're trying to strengthen that glute med and strengthen the groin muscle so we can be a little bit more straight. Let's just try one more time. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. And relax. Straightening both legs now, rocking the feet side to side, shaking out your hands because they should be a little uncomfortable because that's how hard you were squeezing those knees together. Last time, overhead, tricep extension. Maybe it's just one weight, and that'll help keep your elbows nice and close. That's fine. If it's 2 weights, you can have them touch if you'd like. It's a little bit more stable. You can control your elbows. A little bit more stability. They're not touching, but elbows still have to be decently close to the head. Don't forget about your abdominals. Inhale, exhale. Inhale and exhale. Breathe. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bringing those weights down. Feel free to have a little bit of water. You're going to come right to the edge of your chair, shaking out those arms. And we're going to add a little bit of a lower back and rib cage here today. So what I want you to do is straighten your right leg like a hamstring stretch. That's what we'll be doing initially. With a little bit of a bend in the knee, not a lot. You want to pull that toe towards you. So it's my right leg, my left arm is what we're going to be using. So the right leg is forward. That left arm, I want you to reach forward. And then I want you to activate your core and come up nice and tall. Reach forward, not that you have to reach the foot. And then come up nice and tall. Last time, I want you to reach forward and stay there. So it might be on the shin. It might be on that foot. If you would like to collapse your spine for this one, it's okay. It's the last class. I mean, the last little few minutes of this class. So if your back is okay with it, feel free to collapse. If your back, you know, it's not happy, just keep it straight. You will not be able to go very low, but you'll still definitely feel that stretch. Breathe into this stretch. Core is active. Then we come up and we're going to switch to the other side. So bend that right knee, left leg straightens out. Because it's my left leg, it's my right arm. The opposite arm is up. Inhale, exhale, gently reach forward. You don't have to touch that foot. Come back up. Gently come forward and back. Last time. You're going to lean forward, and that is up to you. You can collapse the lower back if you'd like to reach for the toe. You can keep the spine decently straight. You'll be about knee area. Your lower back will tell you what it is capable of doing. Just don't hurt yourself. Breathe into that stretch. And then keep that arm nice and straight. Activate your core. Come back up. And then reposition the legs. real quick. We're going to be in that nice neutral position, a little bit of space behind you. Now we can work on full depth. So if your back hurts, we can all inhale and arch forward, but you might just stop at neutral, or if your back is fine with it, then feel free to collapse. Inhale and arch forward. Exhale, collapse. Inhale and arch forward. Exhale, collapse. Coming up to that nice seated position. Elbows go onto the knees and just relax, relax, relax into that forward fold with the protection of your arms. Breathe deep here. And then sitting up nice and tall. Last but not least, with our shoulders rolled back and down, rib cage is off of the hips, shoulders are away from your ears, tilting the head to the side. And if you want a little bit deeper stretch in the neck, with the shoulders relaxed, you can absolutely move that head a little bit so the chin will slowly rotate towards the shoulder. Maybe it'll roll back a little bit. Do that movement however the neck needs to go so that you feel a stretch in that muscle, many muscles probably in the neck. Don't forget to breathe. When you're ready, make sure that the head is back to neutral before you lift it up. And then we're going to tilt to the other side. Maybe just stay in this neutral head tilt, or if you want to add that chin, you absolutely can. Breathe. Deep inhale and exhale. Make sure that head is looking forward before you bring it back to center, and some shoulder circles to loosen it up. Okay, so now, because we sat the whole class today and tomorrow, every time you stand up, squeeze your glutes. Yeah. See, you thought it was worse before. You're like, man, I gotta squeeze my glutes every time I stand. Yeah, try squeezing your glutes when you sit, right? Can always be worse. Remember that. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. Stretch, have lots of water, enjoy the sunshine. I will see you on Thursday. Bye, everyone.